When I was 14, I planned my wedding.
This one's wife, Nigeria, makes no sense except to a narcissist. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. This one's wife is going to Nigeria later this month. Whether it's as a consequence of the invitation from Kelechi to star in a Nollywood blockbuster, or whether it's actually because the Chief of the Defence Staff said, come on over, it's, on the face of it, seems like a rather strange thing to do. This one's wife prefers the United States. She sees that as the biggest market. Although she's not popular there, it's where there's wealth. It's where there's a lot of people. It's where she believes that she belongs, that her kind of people are to be found in California. And although she's been to The Hague and to Dusseldorf, and she popped to Portugal, and she went to Jamaica, those are but fleeting visits compared to the amount of time she spends sitting around doing Zoom calls in California. She much prefers to be based there, and therefore you would query, why on earth would you then head across the ocean to go to Nigeria? Bear in mind also, of course, that we have been told repeatedly about the security concerns of this one's wife and the Prince of Pink Pancakes. They've bleated on about the perception that somehow hordes of middle-aged white women are going to throw tins of tomatoes at this one's wife and that there are very real security threats to them. This has resulted in Harry taking legal action to try and get those costs covered, for instance, in the United Kingdom. And regularly, this one's wife makes noises about being concerned about her safety as a consequence of supposed online threats and hatred, all part, of course, of the victim mentality and paranoia that originates from her narcissism. This, of course, is being done as a manipulation to try and secure a residual benefit, because she likes to have security, not because she necessarily needs it, but because it makes her look important. We all saw the pap walk across the parking lot, where she was there with a member of her security detail, and there was nobody around bar one woman who walked past her without even giving her a second glance. Nobody's that interested in her. Nobody's going to harm her. But of course, her narcissism tells her that that might happen, so that she maintains a security detail, and a sizable one, because she believes that she needs it, and it's done to make her look important, so that people will have due regard to her. She cosplays at being important. She isn't actually. She's a nobody. A mediocre actress who happened to marry a ginger prince. She's of no importance in the world, other than, from my perspective, as a shining example of narcissism for me to talk about, to educate people and benefit the legacy that I'm creating. But beyond that, what does she do? Does she end wars? No. Does she start wars? No. Is she there creating employment? No. Sure, she's employed people using charitable donations that have come from other people, but that's not really something that she's created. It's other people's money that she uses, something that she does regularly. And of course, showing that sense of entitlement, she wants her security paid for by other people because her sense of entitlement drives her to say, I shouldn't have to pay for it. What's yours is mine, what's mine is mine. The typical mentality of a somatic narcissist. Thus, for somebody who is so security conscious, somebody who requires a security detail, someone who makes a big song and dance about ensuring that it's paid for by other people, why would you then choose to go to a country where the State Department in the United States maintains a travel advisory which basically tells you you ought not to go? This is what the State Department says in relation to Nigeria. Terrorist groups and those inspired by such organizations are intent on attacking US citizens abroad. Terrorists are increasingly using less sophisticated methods of attack, including knives, firearms, and vehicles, to target crowds more effectively. Frequently, Their aim is focused on unprotected or vulnerable targets, such as high-profile public events, hotels, clubs, and restaurants frequented by tourists, places of worship, schools, parks, shopping malls and markets, public transportation systems. Crime. Muggings, assaults, burglaries, carjackings, rape, kidnappings, and extortion occur regularly. Law enforcement authorities usually respond slowly and often do not have the resources to provide investigative support to victims. The US government has limited ability to provide emergency services to US citizens beyond Abuja and Lagos and their immediate surrounding areas. US government employees may be subject to travel constraints as security conditions warrant. Demonstrations occur frequently. They may take place in response to political or economic issues, on politically significant holidays, and during international events. Even demonstrations intended to be peaceful can turn confrontational and possibly become violent. Avoid areas around protests and demonstrations. International financial scams. Internet romance and financial scams are prevalent in Nigeria. Scams are often initiated through internet postings, profiles, or by unsolicited emails and letters. Scammers almost always pose as US citizens who have no one else to turn to for help. Common scams include romance, online dating, money transfers, contracts with promises of large commissions, inheritance notices, Nigerian letter, or 419 fraud. Justice in Nigeria may be uneven. Many crimes go unsolved. Others may not be prosecuted to a successful conclusion for the victim. So that's the travel advisory from the State Department in the United States that basically says there's risks in relation to terrorism, crime, demonstrations, and international financial scams. So therefore ask yourself, why on earth would somebody who is supposedly so concerned about security want to go to a country where where that is the advisory that you're receiving? Doesn't really make sense, does it? Well, you might think to yourself, she wants to go, she'll get the security, and it's because she sees herself as 43% Nigerian. And the spin that has been put out there is to suggest that she's going to find out more about her roots. Just one problem with that. Nigeria isn't an ethnic group. It comprises many tribes that are constituted under the government and flag of Nigeria but maintain their own individual tribal identities. This calls into question whether she truly did have her DNA tested, because if she had, why didn't it say the actual tribe or region of Nigeria that she's associated with, rather than just saying, I'm 43% Nigerian? Therefore, this suggestion that she's actually had some ancestry DNA undertaken, and that's the basis of wanting to come back and explore her roots, again, is questionable. Accordingly, you've got an individual that much prefers to stay in the United States because that's where the money is and that's where the glamour is, that hitherto has shown no real interest in Africa whatsoever, irrespective of her husband's endeavours there. Thirdly, somebody who's concerned about security, who is going to travel to somewhere which is regarded as potentially dangerous. Fourthly, purportedly because she's there to explore her roots, but it's questionable whether that's actually the case. Thus, on the face of it, it makes no sense for her to go there. However, when you take into account the fact that she is a narcissist, it starts to become clearer as to why she's going. First of all, there is the suggestion that she and the Prince of Pink Pancakes are being paid to go to Nigeria. I understand that Neil Sean has advanced the suggestion that they're being paid by the Nigerian government for their appearance. On the basis that Mr. Sean is correct in what he is saying, that, of course, would very much fit with the mindset of this one's wife. I can't believe I'm not being paid for this walkabout, she said in Australia. Thus, the only reason that she would come, or one of the only reasons that she would come to Nigeria, is if she were being paid to do it. Otherwise, why would she bother? It's beneath her. It's of no interest to her. Thus, I think that there is considerable credibility in the suggestion that she and the Prince of Pink Pancakes are being paid to go to Nigeria. After all, that's a residual benefit, which is of attraction to the money-hungry this one's wife. The other aspect, of course, is facade management. Now, I wouldn't see that she would do this on its own. It would have to be in conjunction with other matters. But she likes to play up to being a person of colour when it suits her. She ordinarily holds herself out as white, as we've seen from her resume. She described herself as Caucasian, that she's only ever dated and married white men. But nevertheless, she'll slap on the bronzer and make out that she's very much somebody that's interested in the rights of people of colour, and therefore, for the purpose of facade management, narcissist that she is, she will utilise a trip to Nigeria as part of that facade management. As I state, she wouldn't go to Nigeria just for this alone. It would need to be in conjunction with something else, and the fact that she stands to make money from it means that she may as well manage the facade alongside it. The third reason that she would attend is that she's going to utilise the visit as a faux investigation into her supposed roots for Netflix, thus discharging her obligations towards the streamer and releasing perhaps more money from the contract to her, again a residual benefit. This will also enable her to garner attention, which is fuel. So, as always, her behaviour is governed by the prime aims. Seeking to control people by going on this visit, receiving fuel by people's reactions to her appearance, playing up to being the royal even though she's not actually one, and she was never really interested in doing that. But hey, if she can do a false royal tour, she will do so. The visit enables her to make money, being paid to attend, possibly also ensuring a further tranche of money from Netflix as she creates some more content. Thus, on the face of it, you'd be scratching your head. Why on earth would someone who's much more content to remain in California ever bother going to Nigeria? On the face of it, it makes no sense. But when you take into account her narcissism and the other factors that I've mentioned, then the pursuit of the prime aims and the achievement of those prime aims by going to Nigeria makes complete sense. Once again, my work helps you make sense of the nonsensical, whether it's personal in your life so that you are no longer scratching your head as to why did this person say what they said, why did they do what they do, or making sense of someone infamous like this one's wife. You're now able to work out why she does as she does, seeing her behaviour through the prism of her narcissism. That's why my work is so important, and that's why it's so liberating. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.